Dr. Ronnie Jones.
I don't know if I'm the closer or the person from Miracle Baptist Church, is it? You know, I've heard that comment many, many times, but you need to watch Reverend Gerald sometimes, especially when the tempo of the music really starts to rise. You know, he starts at this seat right here, but if you watch him, he'll be over there. See, in the church that I grew up in, we used to call that dancing. Folk couldn't stay in their seat, and when you looked at them, they had danced to another location. That's our Reverend Gerald. Thank you so much, Reverend Gerald. Good morning, family. Good morning. I enjoyed this month, and I want to congratulate the men for a successful month, Reverend Gerald and Reverend Paul, and all the brothers who participated in making this year's Men's Month what it is. But this theme that you guys came up with this year, for me, it has been the best so far. The best so far. The Lion of Judah. You know, this topic has so much information to unpack. It is so filled with inspiration. Because, you know, Judah, out of all the books, for instance, in the Bible, in Judah we have a convergence, really, of mysticism. We have Hebrew history. We have religion. And we have metaphysics. All of that sort of coming together and meshed together in one convergence, and it just gives you an awful lot to sort of deal with. So I've really enjoyed listening to the speakers and listening to what they said, as well as listening to what else was being said. But let's get into this. You know, the sons of Jacob, which Judah is one, also portrays the tribes of Israel. And Jesus, the master teacher, a descendant of Judah, referred to many times as the Lamb of God, and also as the Lion of the tribe of Judah. Now, both are references to his purity, to his meekness, to his courage, his fearlessness, to his initiativeness and clarity. But when we dive into that, all of that are elements of divine mind and characteristics of our spiritual life. All of that is being portrayed in the story. Now, we need to understand this for each of us. There is some lamb in you, and also there is some lion in you. But more importantly, there is power in you. And these two ideas converge within us for us to have a greater realization of ourselves. See, this story, this idea, the Lion of the tribe of Judah, refers to the awakening of our illumined thoughts, to take us to a higher plane of consciousness in the understanding of ourselves. So, you know, with that, let's kind of take a deep dive into this. Understand this. There is a place where prayer and praise comes together. Now, as metaphysicians, we recognize this coming together in the creation of that which we call the superconsciousness. This is a place of power as it is a place of inspiration. But more importantly, it's a place where mountains are being removed. And by mountains, I'm referring to the barriers, I'm referring to the obstructions, to the blockages of happiness, to our success, and to our healing. But we need to understand that there is a place beyond faith where demonstrations are instantaneous, or a place where prayer is energized, and that's the place that we recognize as Judah. It's not a geographical location, but it is a state of consciousness. It's not a place that we travel to physically. It is a place where we arrive at spiritually. Now, it is the writer Charles Fillmore, one of the co-founders of Unity, who says this about Judah. He says that it is evident that Judah represents the spiritual faculty that corresponds to accumulation or increase in the mental. I'll repeat that again. It is evident that Judah represents the spiritual faculty, not a place, but a spiritual faculty, something within each of us, that corresponds to the accumulation or increase in the mental, and this is praise and power. Judah refers to these two things coming together, and he says, therefore, in understanding that prayer then should be jubilant and thanksgiving instead of supplication, because prayer quickens the mind and makes it draw like a magnet from the realm of cause, which fulfills one's desire. You know, so often we kind of get it kind of confused. You know, in reading Dr. Fillmore's words, I began to sort of reflect back to a time in my youth when we went to church. And church always began with prayer and praise. We entered in with a song. And the song was one that any person that came in would just all of a sudden blurt it out. And everybody else would just sort of join into that song. And we would just sort of raise the energy in that moment in that song. And then after singing that song, everyone would go into prayer. And that's where the energy began to shift. Because rather than prayer being sort of a jubilant experience, it became one of supplication. And that I mean that we were begging God in that instance. We were praising in one moment, and the next moment we were pleading. So in that pleading, it took something away from the praise. You know, in the praise, we were uplifting ourselves and uplifting the consciousness and causing us to be a visionary of something. And then all of a sudden, that was taken away because we realized that whatever the vision was, we had to plead with God that that vision became our own reality. So they didn't work. Now just think of this. Every time you enter into this space, and in this space I'm talking about this church, the Los Angeles Church of Spiritual Living. And for those of you who are here for the first time, we are a metaphysical church, but with a church that is filled with the understanding of spirit. Now, when you enter into the space, you have a potential. You have the potential in the creation of the superconsciousness within your own self. That's an opportunity that awaits you upon entering in. When you approach the doorway, that doorway is your potential portal of freedom. Do you have a conscious expectation? Now, someone arriving for the very first time may not have that. But many of us that have been here for decades should have a conscious expectation. Now, I want you just to think back, and I'm not going to ask for a showing of hands, but this is work that you want to do internally. And I need for you to be honest with yourself. Now, if you had an expectation when you came in this morning, that's wonderful. And the rest of us are going to be in agreement with you with whatever that expectation was, whatever that desire was, whatever that image was that you were entertaining upon entering in. We're going to join with you and lend our energy with yours and bless it that it might find fulfillment in your experience. However, if you did not, then we're going to have to do our work here this morning. Now, in the creation of this concept of a superconsciousness, we create a flow of prayer and praise, and we take a moment to put that into action. Now, our prayer is that of an affirmation, and that is we are making an affirmation of truth into our own consciousness. We are affirming fact to ourselves. And in that affirmation, we are adding to it some praise. So whatever word that we are speaking into our own understanding, we are lifting that word up with the energy of praise. And here the two are coming together. And when they come together, they commingle and one energizes the other. That praise empowers the affirmation that you have made to become a reality within your own mind. That praise empowers you to believe the word that's spoken. Because that word is your word, and you are empowering your word because you have the power to do that. So you don't need to come into this moment and begin to pray to something that is outside of yourself, something that is away from yourself. You don't need to pray hoping and wishing that something will happen as a result of it. You come in praying knowing that you've been already anointed by all the power that there is. You've been fulfilled with its own divine energy, and now you are using it to empower yourself further. So often, we put way too much energy into the magnifying of our problems and too little into magnifying the Christ of ourselves. Let me say that once again. We so often put too much energy in the magnifying of our problems. Just think back. This past week, whatever conversation you had about yourself, was that conversation about the greatness that is within yourself? Or was that conversation about the challenges of yourself? Which one did you empower the most? You know, and as we go through our weeks, we talk to a multitude of people. They're constantly individuals that are coming into our circle of influence. And therefore, there is a constant conversation that's going on, and it's two ways. We are either sitting there listening to them talk about their woes, and listen, we're not going to allow them to get one up on us. Listen, you thought your difficulties were tough. Well, let me tell you a little bit about mine. There goes the conversation. You know, we are powerless in that moment because we're trying to out-magnify problem with someone else. What happened to that little bit of praise? You know, the psalmist gives us this idea. He says it this way. He says, "He that dwelleth in the secret place of the Most High shall abide under the shadow of the Almighty." Understand this. That secret place is the location of your own creation. But the caveat is that you have to abide there. After you created this space, this sacred space, this powerful place in mind, how about spending some time there? Because see, when we create a place that is created from thanksgiving and praise, that is always our shelter from any storm. Now, when I'm referencing storms, I'm not talking about the storms of nature, you know, the rains and the snows and the lightnings and the earthquakes and all of that. I'm talking about the storms that erupt within our own mind. Our failure to see ourselves moving beyond the place where we are to the place where we want to go. And that failure is predicated upon all the mountains that we have created within our circumstance. They seem insurmountable, but we forget that we created them. And realize this, that everything that you created, you can take it away, you can destroy it, because the same power that you use to create it is the same power that you use to dissipate it. So the psalmist says that he that dwelleth there, in other words, he that stay there in that sacred place, in that secret place, in that place that is guarded by praise, that place, that individual shall abide under the shadow of the Almighty. So often we say, right where I am, God is. And wherever that place is that I am at, what else is there? God, its power, its glory, and all that we've ever recognized it to be is right there. So now let's watch this. Right here, right now, in this moment, we can create our secret place. But we have to be conscious of what it is that we're doing. In the silence of oneself, as they begin to acknowledge that the presence, power, and love of God is right where they are, that is the foundation for the creation of that sacred space. How much time and energy do we put in the creation of that versus the amount of time and energy we put into our difficulties? I want you to affirm this idea. And I don't need you today to blurt it aloud. I want you to speak it normally so that it becomes natural for you into your own hearing. And I want you just to say this word: right where I am. All the power, the glory, and the good that is God is here within me as me. Now, process that. And I'm going to say it again, and I want you to repeat it once again. But in your repeat, I want you to say the word, but also I need you to feel the word that you say. Because in feeling the word that you say, the meaning is conveyed on a deeper level within oneself. Right where I am. And let's just pause on that for a moment. Because we can be in a multitude of places. And this affirmation is something we can say wherever. Right where I am in the moment that I'm giving this my conscious attention. Right where I am. All the power, the glory, and the good that is God is here within me as me. And you thought that you were some fragile being. You thought that nothing good and great could happen in your circumstance. You thought that the mountain that you had created on yesterday was insurmountable. You thought the difficulty that appeared at your doorstep today was going to stymie you for the rest of your life. Well, it had the potential to do that until you decided to take it away. And you take it away the moment you implant within your own consciousness a greater idea. And the idea that you implant always has to be one that is greater than the problem. You know, as one writer said, greater is he that is within me. Well, he said that for a reason. Because obviously this was that writer's belief that greatness was at the core of himself. And in believing that greatness was at the core of himself, he believed that if he released that greatness into his experience, it would alter the course of his every circumstance and take him to a different place. But here's something that needs to happen. When we make an affirmation, we need to believe it. We need to believe it. Not just say words that have no meaning, Not just say words because we feel that that's something to do, but say something that you can believe. Because when you say the thing that you can believe, that's the thing that you give power to. So after you begin to affirm the truth, then don't negate it in your next conversation. After you have just affirmed your greatness, then don't turn your back and then begin to say something altogether different, because it cancels out that which you have just affirmed. And then you wonder, why is it that I have no demonstration? Even though I come in every week and I listen to principle, regardless of who the speaker is, I'm listening to principle that they're sharing, but yet I don't seem to be able to have the level of demonstration in my life that I desire. But see, when you find that it's not working for you, then you need to quiet yourself and look at what you're doing and be honest with yourself. Just think back to all the conversations that you're having and the things that you are holding as the truth within your own understanding. Because it is those things that are leading, guiding, and directing you, either holding you hostage. But it's not a power outside of yourself. It's the power that you're using within yourself. You know, so many of us came up in situations where we were quick to blame the devil was doing something. You know, the devil is stopping this and the devil is stopping that. And he's doing this against me and he's doing that against me. Well, you know who that devil is? You know, Michael Jackson put it best when he said, talking to the man in the mirror, I'm asking him to change his ways. Who is he talking to? We are talking to ourselves. See, but when you build upon affirmative prayer, prayer that is mesmerized with praise, see, then you really enter into the vibration of Judah. Like the one we just finished affirming, that right where I am, all the power, the glory, and the good that God is here within me as me. See, Spirit uses me for its wonderful good. Now, to enter into this vibration, we need to get comfortable with praise. And praise is not something that a lot of us do. You know, when we were in the old church, we used to jump up and down and praise and carry on and, you know, think nothing of it. But now, the only praise we do is an applause. When Janetta sang those songs this morning, we loved them. And we jumped up and we clapped and we were grateful for that. But for a lot of us, that was the end of praise. So when you are alone and there is no soloist or band that's playing the music, and it's just you and yourself, what is the level of praise that you begin to entertain? Or is there any? You know, we love to be entertained. And we will talk about entertainers and we will praise them and we will give them all sorts of applause. And that's a good thing because they are giving from their hearts. They are giving of themselves. But when the music stops, what's the praise that you then begin yourself? See, we need to be able to stay in this vibration of Judah and understand what it is that we are talking about. Now, once again, the psalmist gives us a book of praises. And all we need to do sometimes is just read them and kind of memorize them and then just sort of apply them to ourselves. But that means doing something. That means reading. And that's something a lot of us really don't care to do. We'd rather watch TV than to read. We'll do that all the time. We'd rather see someone else do something rather than to do it ourselves. But see, when we are building our own consciousness, when we are creating a vibration that we want to enter in for it to be impactful within our understanding, we need to do something. So I brought a few this morning that I so often reflect on. Just think on these. I will praise thee, O God, with my whole heart, and I will show forth thy marvelous works. Bless the Lord, O my soul, and all that is within me. Bless his holy name. O Lord, our Lord, how excellent is thy name in all the earth. I will rejoice and be glad in thee, and I will sing praises to thy name. The heavens declare the glory of God, and the firmament shows his handiwork. He restores my soul and leadeth me in the path of righteousness. The Lord is my light and my salvation. Whom shall I fear? And the list can just go on. And here's one that I absolutely love. One thing have I asked of the Lord that I will seek after, that I may dwell in the house of the Lord all the days of my life, and behold the delight of the Lord, and be in charge of his temple. And that last part, to be in charge of his temple, ourselves. The thing I will seek after is to dwell there in the house of the Lord, to dwell there in a place of understanding, to dwell there in a place of refuge, to dwell there in this place of solitude, to dwell there in this sacred place, to dwell there in a moment where I know that there is nothing there but me and God, to dwell there where I am constantly being energized, to dwell there where new ideas are entering into my mind constantly, to dwell there where I can have a new vision for myself, to dwell there. You know, this is to create a conscious dwelling place. You know, the Bible tells us that when Leah, the wife of Jacob, gave birth to Judah, that she was caught up in praise. And she said at his birth, "This time will I praise Jehovah." And not only was she caught up, Jacob likewise was caught up. And he said, "Judah, these shall be thy brethren's praise. Thy hand shall be on the neck of thine enemies." Imagine this. Rejoicing, the illumination of consciousness. Something is happening here. The result of something that might have been an affirmative prayer to bring forth a son. And now that this is happening, they are going forth in praise. But see, Jacob had 12 sons. And each of these were representing the 12 tribes of Israel. Or better yet, the 12 faculties of mind. Here, once again, we have that convergence of Hebrew history, mysticism, religion, and metaphysics. And it's all being made clear to the seeker, and we have to define for ourselves which one that we are. See, the faculties of mind are spiritual faculties, and they're oftentimes referred to as the 12 powers of man. Now, spiritually, the powers exist in our minds as divine ideas. Symbolically, they are our disciples, just as Jesus had 12 disciples. Literally, they are the 12 centers of energy within each individual. These 12 powers or energy centers. There's so things that are so common to us, we take them for granted. Faith, strength, judgment, love, power, imagination, understanding, will, order, zeal, elimination, and life. Now, Judah, the fourth son, representing the house of spiritual consciousness, whose office was really just have prayer and praise. Now, all lofty ideas, however, they come from this faculty. It is the inspiration of everything and the center of creativity. But most importantly, it is the spiritual faculty that empowers the gift of imagination. The most powerful tool, most powerful gift that we have. Never think about it. What is imagination? Other than the ability to create something seemingly out of nothing. And thus we use it every day. Look around you and see the result of imagination. Everything began as an idea. The idea was in someone's imagination, even mankind. Let us make man in our image and in our likeness. This was divine imagination. You know, to make it even more current, there's not a day that goes by that you can turn on your television or read the news and read something about artificial intelligence. And what is that other than someone's imagination? The creativity within someone's mind. Someone heard this concept that right where they are, God is. They may not have been placed in their words, but they understand that the divine was operating through them, and so they wanted to be a co-creator. And imagine the same thing is true for each of us, that we are the co-creators of our experiences. So we either like what it is that we have created, or the greatest thing we can do is to change our mind. You know, wherever you're going, whatever it is that you've been doing, you can stop right now, full circle, change it, and do something else altogether different. But the greatest thing is that we look at our potential. In this moment, if you do not see anything, this is good, because divine mind awaits your mental input. Imagine that. Divine mind is awaiting your input. Makes no difference how old we are, makes no difference what sex we are, makes no difference the level of our education. The difference is made in our willingness to think beyond where we are. Imagine that, thinking beyond where we are. The only thing in front of us always is our potential. Imagine when God took Moses up at the top of Mount Hebron and said, listen, before you is the land of Canaan, and I will give unto thee as far as the eye can see. What was he doing other than telling Moses, look here, use your imagination. I mean, don't just look at this desert that's in front of you. Don't just look at this dry, arid land that's in front of you. Look at it and see the potential of what you can do with it. He said, not only am I giving you this ability, but I'm giving the same gift to all of your descendants. That same gift is ours even today. So I invite all of you to take the courage of a lion and move forward in the spirit of Judah. All that you can see, all that you are willing to imagine, decree it to be yours And then fill yourself up with praise. And after you filled yourself up with praise, go out and inhabit your dream. Peace and blessings to you this morning.